My name is Jonathan Crossley, principal of Baseline Academy in Little Rock School District, and I'm working collaboratively here with Dr. Tiffany Bone, hoping that you will take this interview as a productive part of your coursework. So the first question that I want to tackle is pretty simple. What advice do you have for new principals in regards to budgeting and school finance? So I was in your shoes a few years back, trying to figure out what finance and budgeting looked like on the school level, how much autonomy I had, and hopefully this next answer will hit to that topic. So for me, collaboration is key. You have to make sure that you're collaborating with not just, people say stakeholders. What does stakeholders even mean? So the nuts and bolts of that would be your leadership team and your teachers, making sure that you're all on the same page with how you're going to spend your money. So for example, we have a school improvement grant here, which is $6.5 million over 5 years, so it's stretched out over 5 years. We could just unilaterally make decisions on what we want to do there, but that is terrible practice because you want to make sure that people are bought in to what you're doing. So our leadership team sits down and we make kind of a priority list based on our core values and based on our goals for the year, our SMART goals for the year, and we align our budget to that. Title I, our facilitators really make up a lot of our Title I spending. So with our leadership team, we come up with kind of our big buckets of what we want to do with Title I. A lot of that is parental engagement. But again, I don't unilaterally make that decision. If I did, I would be asking for a revolt because when you're messing with people's purse strings, you're messing with people's money. You need to make sure that you have a budget and you're bought in. Setting guidelines on what you're going to spend money on, what you're not going to spend money on is pretty important. Aligned again with who you are as a school and where you're going, your directional focus. We have a big problem in education sometimes because principals think that they can't trust teachers or trust people in their building to make those decisions. Well, you will never be able to trust people if you don't practice it. So I think the best practice is to go from a mutually respectful conversation about spending money and go from there. Continually review. You have to continually review your budget. Sometimes you find that you make decisions and you're spending money and you're getting a little bit out of your lane because people want to go to professional development certain places or they want to do certain things in their classroom that are innovative and you want to build capacity in teachers to do that. So you may approve something here and there while looking at the budget that will catch up with you over the course of a month's time. That just happens. It's not ideal, but that happens every once in a while. But by continually looking at that budget, we do it monthly, around about monthly, and my assistant principal plays a large role in that process as well. The second question is, how much autonomy do you have as a building level principal over your budget? What fund accounts, special grants, what stakeholders, if any, are involved? So I mentioned that a little bit. I kind of wrapped that question up with number one. But our leadership team, my assistant principal, and facilitators really play a large role in that to make sure that we are aligning our budget with who we want to be, the best version of ourselves. That's who we are, that's how we spend our money, and that's how we ultimately strive to reach our goals. The last thing is describe the purchasing process in your district. So we are a large district. Little Rock School District is a large district, the largest, at least for now, in the state. And we have a pretty specific process that is lined out in our district financial handbook. We really do have a lot of leeway, though. So building level principals can make decisions with their leadership team, with their staff on how they want to spend money. Now, there are guidelines. For example, food is a big one. In Title I funds and even in the school improvement grant, you can't explicitly buy a lot of food unless it's tied to some sort of meeting or some sort of parental engagement activity. But there are interesting and innovative ways that you can kind of justify what you're trying to do because we all know that it's not always black and white, cut and dry. Innovative things happen on a weekly, monthly basis, a daily basis in education, and we have to make sure that we're spending money on things that allow us to reach kids in ways that are just not as traditional as they might have been 50 or 20 years ago. An example of some of those things, one, our general activity fund. So that's really the one that has almost no restrictions on it. So you can use your general activity fund how you wish. A lot of schools have super huge general activity funds. I can think of one in our district. It's a medium-sized elementary school. A lot of affluent parents. They have over $100,000 in their general activity fund. Baseline had actually negative money in their general activity fund when I got here. Now we're operating at around, I don't know, $4,000 to $5,000 in our general activity fund, and that allows us again to have a little leeway with helping people out to carry out some meetings and innovative things that we want to do for outreach with parents and students. The United Way Fund. So the United Way Fund is a very interesting fund. It's really for students' needs who are designated as homeless and have a homeless tag. That's through the McGinney-Vento Act. So what we do here at Baseline is we solicit funds from our teachers. They can put an additional payment in each of their paychecks, or they can do a lump sum at the beginning or the end of the year to just have some extra funding to do flexible things with students who really have high needs. So that's above and beyond our partnerships with universities and churches to provide goods and services for our families. This is just an extra piece on a day-to-day basis. For example, if our counselor really needs to have a conversation about deodorant or underwear or whatever, which are real things that happen in a school. I mean, this is a business about people, and it's just so vitally important that you align your money with what's really going to happen. Like, this is not theoretical. Once you get in an elementary school or a middle school or a high school, real things happen. So, for example, my first year as a principal, I had a kid who pooped himself a lot. So he's using the restroom on himself consistently, and we had to find creative ways to align how we're spending money to get this kid what he needs. And so, it's things hit you in the face, metaphorically and literally, and you are forced to align how you're spending your money, because you're not going to pull it out of your pocket. If you do, you'll be broke. You'll be broke as a principal. You have the best intentions, but you have the ability to really think creatively and align who you are as a leader with how to get your kids what they need. So a big part of how we do things at Baseline and how a lot of schools do things is the secretary bookkeeper position. The secretary bookkeeper position in Little Rock is vital to the process, because I don't have to fill out every single PO myself. I don't have to do every single thing myself. We spend a lot of money here at Baseline because we have kids with lots of needs. So we spend money and do things to have parental engagement and get kids involved with education. But if I just did the POs myself and researched things myself and did everything myself as a principal, I wouldn't have time to do anything instructional on a day-to-day basis. That on top of discipline and everything else in a diverse environment that's fast-paced and moving quickly, I just wouldn't have time. So the secretary is also my bookkeeper here at Baseline. We're a smaller school. We're a little bit over 300. But she plays such an important role because I can trust her. She's essential. I guess so one bit of feedback I might give you: when you are a principal and when you are doing that on a day-to-day basis, you have to have a strong relationship with your secretary bookkeeper. They can get you in a lot of trouble as a leader. They can make you defy all the ISLIC standards, or they can really have you have your back and push you forward with your organizational skills and being able to spend the money in a timely fashion. So I've had 2 secretaries in 2 years because they've moved on to other jobs in the private sector, but both of those secretaries have been phenomenal bookkeepers as well. So my tidbit of advice would be, when you're hiring for a secretary, also look for someone who can be a vital bookkeeper to keep you on the right path as a leader.